Fans of The Last Kingdom had already prepared to say goodbye to the epic show once its 5th and final season rolled out back in March of 2022. This is why when its sequel movie was announced, their excitement was palpable. So what's the movie about and why do people need to watch it on the big screen? You'll find out in this video. First off, reason number 1 is the story's continuation. Who doesn't want to see Uhtred of Bebbanburg on the big screen? Him paired with his super epic army with the show's score playing in the background is gonna be a dream come true for fans like us, who've watched the show since the beginning, especially after the battle between Uhtred and Edward, and Rogvaldr's takeover of Euphoric, 2 events that have left us with a whole lot of questions that only the movie can answer. We're also ready to see Osbert back with his family, and Lady Aelswith cheat death yet again. Of course, our hearts are with the people who died in battle, including Vibeke, Aethelflaed of Mercia, baby monk Osferth, Britta, the treacherous Brezel, and ever-scheming Lord Aethelhelm, but we can't wait for the rest of the cast to be back. So who's gonna be back in the movie? All the main characters you love, including Uhtred, obviously, thanks to the video posted on The Last Kingdom's Twitter account in January of 2022, where they informed us of the filming starting for the movie. We're sure the guy's going to be back to kick some serious you-know-whats in the sequel. Along with him will be his children, Father Pyrlig, Finan, Sihtric, Lady Edith, Abbess Hild, King Edward, his new wife Eadgifu, his sons, mother, and her advisor, Rogvaldr, Father Benedict, Aethelwyn, Sinleif, and finally, King Constantine along with his nephew. The casting of these characters is one of the biggest reasons why people need to watch this movie. We're assuming that the movie will start a little ahead of the show's final events, and the characters will probably have progressed a little in their lives. This means that we'll get to see our favorite characters and new stories of their own, which is also super cool. We're also looking forward to the movie answering some questions for us that the show left untouched. Starting from the very obvious one, who are the 7 kings who must die? Now, we're pretty sure the movie will be set after the events of the battle, where Olaf, the king of Dublin, Constantine, the king of Alba, and Owain, the king of Strathclyde, all went into battle with the Irish and Viking kings. But with Aethelstan on the throne, which will happen considering historic facts, the kings will have to pledge their allegiance to the throne, figuratively ending their reign as kings. We're certain Uhtred is told of the 7 kings must die prophecy early on in the book, whilst Alfred is still alive. This makes us think that this is a part of that particular prophecy that we may see coming true in the movie. And to sum it up, the 7 kings could be Aethelstan, Ulfweard, Constantine, Hywel, Owain, Guthfrith, and Anlef. It's also true that these 7 kings will fight a threat that wants to eliminate all 7 of them, thus the title. This can especially be true considering the movie's standalone story, as claimed by the executive producer Nigel Marchant. And of course, with no other movies or series in the pipeline, the story will need to be conclusive enough not to raise any hopes for further sequels. This means that whatever the threat the 7 kings may face will probably be something that won't end their kingdom, but will be dangerous enough to be exciting. Because guys, a movie about the Last Kingdom can be anything but. Moving on, we're looking forward to Aethelstan's role. That, according to a Redditor and Harry Gilby, Aethelstan himself is going to be much bigger in the movie than in the last season. Our guess? We'll get to see his ascension to the throne, which will be the main focus of the movie along with the Battle of Bebbanburg. We also know that Constantine will also be playing a bigger part in the movie than in the show, which means his contribution to the historic battle is something we all can look forward to. Speaking of fighting, let's talk about the other fights we're expecting to see in the movie, also including Osbert's fight for Northumbria. We don't know much about Osbert's future because his name refers to a different character in the book, but we can always speculate. And our speculation says that Osbert could be one of the threats in the movie will lead to fighting for Northumbria. We don't know much about this new character arc after all, because all we saw of him was in the end when he returned with Hild from the Holy Land of Lindisfarne. It's possible that after he's back, he'll want a part of his own glory, or some part of a revenge from his father for alienating him for so long. But that's just one possibility. Another one's that he'll make a strong bond with his family, especially Uhtred. This seems highly likely, but the former is a bit more exciting to think about. And then there's the question of Edward and Bebbanburg, who's very much the fool in the whole situation. No offense to the man himself, but the character portrayed in the show wasn't the most loved among fans. In fact, some felt downright infuriated with his existence. This makes us believe that his role may not be the most positive in the movie, or we may not see him at all, because at the end of season 5, when King Constantine is trying to negotiate peace with Uhtred, he sets aside his demands in exchange for Edward not ruling over Bebbanburg. There's a very strong possibility that the movie will address rising tensions with Constantine if or when he decides to confront Wessex again, whose king wasn't too glad to lose Bebbanburg, by the way, considering it was his father's wish to unify the kingdoms to form England. Like we said earlier, Bebbanburg will possibly be the main focus of the movie with the others. So is the movie really necessary? We've seen great shows and movies falter and fail every time they've tried to stretch their narrative beyond the core story. That's why we weren't surprised to find fans who thought the movie was really unnecessary. The North remembers after all. According to them, the show was wrapped perfectly and there's no need to stretch the story further by adding a movie in the mix. We guess it's a good thing that the movie's a standalone story and not an extension or a specific part of the show's timeline. Maybe this way our memories of the brilliant show won't be ruined with a half-assed storyline that doesn't make sense. But if the cast is the same and the story's still based on the same books written by the author, we're sure it won't suck. Plus, according to some fans, it would make sense to continue with at least one movie because the whole show was based on the creation foundation of England, so the creators will probably want to cover the events leading up to it. Next up, are there any specific book plots we can expect to watch? Like we said earlier, we're just speculating at this point, but we're sure of this, that the movie will somehow be based on the events of the books. Which events, you ask? There's obviously a romance between Edith and Uhtred, which finally will give our lead warrior a love story that won't end in heartbreak. There's also Edward's anger of losing Northumbria that'll lead him to call a Witten at Tamworth to embarrass Uhtred. He could also baptize Rogvaldir instead of Sigtryggr, which is a plot covered in the War of the Wolf. There's also the Battle of Bebbanburg, which we're expecting already. As in the book Warlord, however, Uhtred may be killed before the battle, making Osbert the new Uhtred, son of Uhtred. And finally, the movie could end with England uniting, making Alfred's dream come true. May become the Lord of the North, whose land stretches from the wind-beaten North Sea to the shores facing Ireland, and all will be happy again, until England starts colonizing people, but that's not what we're talking about here. And finally, it gives the story a justifiable ending. Unlike the other fantasy drama that took a completely different turn when its writers decided to take a turn against the books, at least this one's got all its stories published. So even if the writers do decide to stray from the main story, we're sure they're going to keep the original essence of the show intact in the movie. This is why, if you're a fan of The Last Kingdom, you need to see the movie and enjoy the feel of post-England warriors fighting the battle royale on the big screen. Trust us, with that cast, those writers, and the epic score of the show, the movie is definitely going to be worth it. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on The Last Kingdom 7 Kings Must Die? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one!